Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Podcast. Today, we're diving into a topic that affects almost everyone, social media. Not the obvious stuff like scrolling time or likes, but how it subtly changes how we feel, often without us noticing.
Yes, it's fascinating and a bit alarming. We log in for a quick update or connection, but social media is carefully designed to influence our emotions. Joy, envy, self-doubt, excitement, all can be amplified, shifted, or suppressed without conscious awareness.
Often, we don't notice the gradual changes. One day, your mood feels off, your attention scattered, or you feel restless, and you don't even connect it to hours spent online.
Right. Social media isn't inherently bad, but it's powerful, and understanding its subtle effects is the first step to regaining control over your emotions.
Before we start, a quick favor for our listeners. If this topic resonates, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment about your experience with social media. Engagement like that helps us keep creating content that truly matters.
Consider this episode a guide. We'll uncover how social media shapes our feelings, why it happens, and practical ways to interact intentionally without being hijacked emotionally.
Layla, let's start with the basics. How does social media influence our emotions without us realizing it?
It often works through constant comparison and reinforcement loops. Every like, comment, or share triggers a small emotional reward. Over time, your brain starts craving these micro rewards. At the same time, seeing curated content, perfect vacations, achievements, lifestyles, can subtly make you feel inadequate, anxious, or restless.
That makes sense. I've caught myself scrolling and suddenly feeling a twinge of envy, even though logically I know what I'm seeing is curated. It's almost automatic.
Yes, the impact is largely subconscious. Emotional responses are triggered faster than rational thought, and because social media is designed to capture attention, it exploits that emotional reflex.
So even when we think we're just browsing casually, our emotions are being influenced in ways we don't notice.
Small shifts add up. Over weeks or months, it can affect self-esteem, focus, and overall mood without any dramatic moment making it obvious.
What about interactions? Likes, comments, shares, how do they play into emotional conditioning?
They create a feedback loop. Your brain receives a little dopamine spike from validation. It's pleasurable, reinforcing, and subtly addictive. The problem is that this reinforcement is often unpredictable. Sometimes a post gets 50 likes, sometimes 5, which keeps your brain seeking more engagement compulsively.
Ah, like gambling in a way. The unpredictability keeps you hooked.
Totally. Variable rewards are highly effective in shaping behavior, and because it's social, it feels harmless, even enjoyable, masking the underlying emotional influence.
Does social media affect all emotions equally, or are some more impacted than others?
Some emotions are amplified more than others. Envy, anxiety, and inadequacy tend to rise, while contentment and gratitude can be suppressed. Seeing a friend's highlight reel often triggers subtle comparison, even if you're happy in your own life.
So, our emotional baseline can shift gradually without a clear aha moment.
Yeah, that's why many people feel restless, distracted, or dissatisfied without realizing social media is part of the equation.
What about younger users? Are they more vulnerable?
Sure, developing brains are highly sensitive to social validation and comparison. Teens and young adults are especially prone to emotional fluctuations due to curated content and peer feedback loops.
That's concerning. So it's not just a time management issue, it's emotional regulation at stake.
Absolutely. It's about training your mind to respond intentionally rather than being hijacked subconsciously.
Now, what's one early warning sign that social media is affecting your emotions more than you realize?
Feeling restless, anxious, or low-grade dissatisfaction after scrolling. Constant comparison or obsessively checking notifications is another. Awareness is key. Notice these patterns before they become habitual.
I see. Self-awareness is the first step. If I notice my mood shifts after 10 minutes on Instagram, that's my cue to pause or reflect.
Reflection is more powerful than restriction initially. Understand the influence before you try to control it.
And in daily life, can small adjustments help prevent these emotional shifts?
Yes, limiting scrolling, scheduling social media breaks, curating content intentionally, and being conscious about engagement can reduce emotional impact. Treat social media as a tool, not as an emotional regulator.
It sounds like the ultimate goal is mindful usage, not avoidance.
Exactly. Awareness plus intention allows you to enjoy the benefits without losing your emotional balance.
I've noticed that sometimes, after scrolling for a few minutes, my mood subtly shifts. I might feel restless, anxious, or even slightly down, and I don't consciously realize it's coming from social media. Why does that happen?
That's a great observation. Social media works on what psychologists call emotional priming. It exposes your brain to content that triggers subtle emotional responses, often before your conscious mind catches up. You might see a friend's achievement, a news headline, or a trending post. Your brain reacts instantly with comparison, excitement, or stress, and your mood starts to shift quietly.
So even if I'm just casually scrolling, my brain is processing these tiny emotional cues constantly?
Exactly. And because these cues are unpredictable and rapid, your mind gets used to reacting automatically. Over time, you may feel emotional fatigue or restlessness without connecting it to the source.
That explains why sometimes I log off thinking I'm fine, and 20 minutes later I feel slightly irritated or distracted.
Yes, that lag between exposure and emotional awareness is why many people don't realize social media is influencing them until the mood change has already occurred.
So what about the types of content? Are some more emotionally impactful than others?
Definitely. Highly curated personal posts, news stories, or emotionally charged content, like controversies or dramatic videos, have stronger effects. Positive content can uplift, but it can also create comparison-based anxiety because seeing perfection triggers subtle self-doubt.
So even happy content can make us feel worse if we unconsciously compare ourselves.
That's the paradox. Positive content often carries an invisible emotional cost. Your mind compares, measures, and sometimes concludes it's not enough.
And notifications, are they part of this emotional influence?
Absolutely. Each ping, alert, or badge creates a micro dopamine hit, conditioning the brain to check constantly. This keeps your mind on edge, subtly shaping your emotions and attention even when you're not actively scrolling.
It's like a background emotional pulse. I feel a twinge of excitement or irritation even if I don't open the app.
Social media operates on both active engagement and passive emotional influence.
So does overuse make these effects stronger?
Yes, habitual scrolling trains your brain to respond automatically to content. Emotional highs and lows become more frequent, and mood regulation can become dependent on social media rather than your own internal cues.
So, in a way, social media can hijack your emotional baseline over time.
Right, and that's why awareness is crucial, noticing subtle shifts before they accumulate.
So, are there any signs that someone's emotions are being influenced more than they realize?
Several. Feeling restless or anxious after short periods of scrolling, comparing yourself frequently to others, difficulty focusing on tasks afterward, mood swings that don't seem tied to real-life events. Recognizing these patterns is the first step to breaking the invisible cycle.
And I guess that's why some people feel they need to detox from social media periodically.
Detoxes reset emotional sensitivity and help people regain conscious control over their mood, rather than letting it be unconsciously influenced.
So, for practical purposes, what's a first step someone can take today to reduce subtle emotional influence?
Start with mindful awareness. Notice how your emotions shift during and after scrolling. Try journaling your feelings, limiting time on apps, or curating feeds intentionally. Awareness transforms passive emotional conditioning into active emotional management.
That makes sense. Even a small adjustment, noticing feelings, limiting scrolling, can gradually restore emotional control.
Yes, and it compounds over time. Intentional, small steps are more effective than sudden, dramatic changes.
Lila, now that we've explored how social media subtly shapes our emotions, let's get practical. How can someone interact with it without letting it hijack their mood completely?
The first tool is intentional curation. Take control of what appears in your feed. Unfollow accounts that trigger comparison or negative emotions. Follow content that inspires, teaches, or genuinely uplifts you. Curating consciously shifts social media from a passive emotional drain into an active positive tool.
That's smart. I tried unfollowing accounts that made me feel inadequate and replaced them with ones that teach or motivate. Within days, I noticed my mood after scrolling was calmer, more balanced.
Agree. Curation is like choosing the environment you want your mind to inhabit. Social media doesn't change, but your attention shapes your experience.
I love that metaphor. It's like walking into a room. You choose whether it energizes you or drains you.
Yes, and small adjustments compound over time.
Another issue is the endless scroll. How do we limit emotional hijacking there?
Set time boundaries. Decide in advance how long or when you'll engage. Use app timers or schedule social media windows. This creates structure and prevents mindless scrolling, which is where most emotional shifts happen.
I tried that last week. I limited myself to 20 minutes in the morning, and it felt surprisingly liberating. I wasn't constantly distracted throughout the day.
Boundaries turn social media into a tool you control, not a tool that controls you.
How about engagement habits? Likes, comments, shares? Do they matter emotionally?
Of course they do. Try intentional engagement. Comment thoughtfully or interact only when it aligns with your values. Avoid passive, approval-seeking behavior. Over time, you reduce dependency on external validation and strengthen emotional resilience.
So it's less about being social online and more about authentic interaction.
100%. Quality over quantity applies online too.
How about notifications? They seem harmless but can disrupt focus and mood constantly.
Notifications are subtle emotional triggers. Turn off non-essential alerts or batch check them at designated times. This reduces the constant micro-anxiety spikes and allows your mind to stay calmer and more focused.
I never realized that my phone buzzing every minute was affecting my mood, even when I wasn't consciously thinking about it.
Yes, the unconscious emotional impact is significant.
Are there ways to strengthen emotional immunity to social media over time?
Yes, daily reflection helps. After scrolling, pause and ask, how did this make me feel? Was it helpful or draining? Journaling or mentally checking in builds awareness and trains your mind to spot emotional triggers before they accumulate.
I like that. Instead of mindlessly scrolling, I pause and notice subtle feelings, a little envy, excitement, or distraction. Awareness itself seems protective.
Awareness plus intention is powerful.
Can setting goals around social media usage help too?
Absolutely. For example, I'll use social media to learn one new thing today, or I'll post content that inspires someone. Clear, purpose-driven goals prevent passive consumption and emotional drain.
So instead of scrolling endlessly, we scroll with purpose and direction.
Yes, purposeful engagement reshapes the emotional experience entirely.
Lila, for listeners ready to take action, what's one immediate step they can do today?
Start with one small change, maybe curating your feed, turning off notifications, or journaling post-scrolling reflections. Also, subscribe, leave a comment about your own social media boundaries, and share this episode if it resonates. Small steps compound faster than we think.
It's fascinating. Social media isn't going away, but we can shape how it shapes us. Awareness, intention, and small daily adjustments turn it from an emotional hijacker into a tool for growth and inspiration. Layla, we've covered the immediate emotional effects and practical tools, but what about long-term strategies? How can someone use social media over months or years without it subtly draining their mood?
Long-term balance starts with intentional habits and self-awareness. First, define clear personal boundaries. How often you engage, what content you allow, and what interactions are meaningful. Boundaries are not restrictions, they're protection for your emotional energy.
I've felt that exhaustion, honestly. Sometimes even a short scroll leaves me tense or anxious without realizing why. Setting boundaries might be the key.
Totally right. Recognizing emotional fatigue early allows you to respond intentionally instead of letting social media unconsciously dictate your mood.
What about emotional detoxes? Are they really necessary long term?
They are extremely effective. Even a few hours to a full day without social media helps reset your emotional baseline. It reminds the brain that connection and validation don't only come from screens.
I remember doing a 24-hour detox last month. Honestly, it felt liberating and surprisingly emotional. I realized how often I unconsciously compared myself to others.
That's a perfect example. Emotional resets help your mind regain clarity and self compassion.
How can someone integrate social media mindfully into daily life without feeling deprived?
Try scheduled engagement. For example, check feeds at specific times, interact purposefully, and avoid mindless scrolling. Pair this with offline activities that nourish you emotionally. Exercise, hobbies, reading, or face to face conversations. This combination strengthens resilience.
I've noticed that when I replace late night scrolling with a short walk or journaling, my sleep and mood improve significantly.
Exactly. Replacing passive consumption with active, fulfilling activities reduces subtle emotional drain.
What about social comparison? It seems unavoidable sometimes.
It is natural, but it can be managed. Reframe your perspective. Instead of comparing your life to someone's highlight reel, celebrate your progress and achievements. Gratitude and self reflection counterbalance envy and subtle inadequacy.
I'll admit, sometimes it's hard not to feel a little left out or behind. But that mindset shift you're describing, it could really make a difference.
It's a daily practice. The more consistently you reframe, the less emotional impact social media has over time.
Are there ways to build community and connection while maintaining emotional balance online?
Yes, engage in supportive, interest based groups. Communities with shared goals or values foster positive interactions and meaningful conversations. Avoid toxic spaces where competition or judgment dominates.
I joined a small online book club recently. Even though it's virtual, the discussions feel genuine and uplifting. It's a relief from endless comparison.
Indeed, positive engagement nurtures the brain rather than draining it.
For long-term emotional resilience, can habits outside social media make a difference?
Definitely. Physical activity, meditation, creative outlets, and offline social interactions all strengthen emotional regulation. The more your brain is balanced offline, the less vulnerable it is to subtle online influence.
I love that. It's like building armor around your emotions without cutting off connection entirely.
Emotional resilience allows you to engage online thoughtfully without being hijacked by it.
Well, for listeners who want one actionable long-term step today, what would you suggest?
Pick one habit. Either curate your feed intentionally, schedule social media time, or try a short emotional detox. Track how it affects your mood. And while you're at it, subscribe, leave a comment sharing your approach, or share this episode. Small steps lead to long-term change.
Social media isn't going away, but we can shape its impact. Awareness, intention, and consistent habits build emotional freedom. Even small changes today, reflecting, curating, pausing, compound into lasting balance. Lila, after everything we've explored today, it's clear how social media quietly shapes our emotions, often without us noticing. I sometimes catch myself scrolling and suddenly feel drained or anxious, even though I thought I was just passing time.
Yes, and that's why awareness is so crucial. Noticing your triggers is the first step toward change.
So, what's the first thing someone should do to regain control over their attention and emotions?
Start with a simple audit. Notice which platforms affect your mood the most and how certain interactions make you feel. Awareness creates space for choice.
And once we're aware, how do we prevent the usual scroll from taking over our energy?
Set boundaries. Scheduled times, limited notifications, and short social media breaks can make a big difference. You train your brain to engage intentionally.
It's amazing how small adjustments, like turning off a notification or pausing before opening an app, can instantly shift your day. How do we deal with that creeping sense of comparison or inadequacy we often feel online?
Focus on your own metrics, your own progress. Stop measuring against curated realities. Mindful reflection, gratitude, and intentional engagement help reduce emotional drain.
And for people who struggle to disconnect, even for a few hours, what's a practical tip?
Try a mini detox, even 10 to 15 minutes of intentional offline activity. It resets your emotional state and gives clarity.
It's ironic. We scroll to feel connected, but sometimes stepping away reconnects us with ourselves. Finally, what's one small action listeners can take today to start feeling more in control?
Pick one habit to change, maybe curating your feed or scheduling your social media time, and commit to it for a week. Small wins build confidence.
Thank you for listening. Remember, social media is a tool, neither inherently good nor bad. Its effect depends on your choices, awareness, and daily habits. Well, listeners, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave a comment sharing the change you'll try this week, share this episode with someone who could benefit. Small, mindful actions today lead to long-term emotional balance tomorrow. Until next time, stay aware, stay intentional, and take control of your mind.